We had a pretty crummy weekend. Lots of bad stuff happened. Let's go over these because we got a couple of mass shootings. I'm not sure if the first one classifies as such because although we use that terminology a little loosely. Um, 2 killed, 9 injured in Brown University shooting. Mohammed Aziz Zokov and Ella Cook. Ella Cook was the vice president of the College Republican Club. So yeah, that happened Saturday. Studying or something. I don't know, some review thing. They were searching for a gunman. They found somebody and then released him. The odd thing is that they said, we have this person of interest, and then they went and released him after about 12 hours. Oops, wrong person, I guess. But they also released the guy's name. He was from Wisconsin. They released his name, his picture, that sort of stuff got out there. And he apparently, surprise, has absolutely nothing to do with it. Yeah, so lack of competence. Oh, we found a guy in a hotel room who has a couple of guns. They've released some photos which are complete, who they think the shooter is. They're completely useless. Photos and some video. The person's bundled up. It's cold in Rhode Island in December. You can't see any of their face. You kind of see what they're wearing. It's pretty apparent that this was, though I haven't seen it said yet, it doesn't look like he's got a rifle or a shotgun. So this was probably done with a handgun, in all likelihood. But then we get some stupid from the media. Of course, we've got to fill air. We've got to fill airtime, right? So this is what we get from CNN, who used to have Stephen Gutowski of The Reload as a paid contributor who they could go to for these things. But instead, they've got this guy who's as sharp as a bag of hammers. I'm going to play this video. Just it may, for some reason, sometimes videos the audio comes out fine, but the video doesn't. So I'm going to try and make sure you get the video. So let's see here.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, hit this hotel room in Coventry and took this man into custody. What we're told from law enforcement sources now is that they seized 2 firearms from this 24-year-old suspect. One of those firearms, we are told, was equipped with a laser sight device. This has significance because, number one, that's a fairly sophisticated device for a handgun where when you aim it, a red dot goes...
This guy is their chief law enforcement and intelligence officer. Maybe he retired in 1995 or 2000 maybe. But his expertise seems to be quite dated.
Where you want to target, and if you fire at that point, the bullet goes where the dot is. It's the kind of things used mostly by professionals, tactical people, military people. The other aspect of it, though, is it indicates that this was no random shooting. What we know is this individual traveled from the Midwest, apparently, obtained this hotel room, likely had to obtain...
The rest of this is kind of irrelevant. Lasers on firearms are not evidence of tactical skill or training or anything. He's making suppositions because this guy traveled from Wisconsin. Well, he's the wrong guy. So the rest of this we can kind of forget. But I'm going to use my technical expertise to explain to you that this is if you've got a laser on your gun, that's you're super advanced and you've had training. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Amazon. The first 3 are kind of fly-by-night. Crimson Trace is a respected brand, but you don't know No, no, it's all wrong. None of that's true. There are people with lasers on their guns. There are people without lasers on their guns. Do lasers help? Yes. Is that a good thing in a self-defense situation? Yes, that's a good thing. You want to hit what you're aiming for. Too often, a lot of these arguments, especially gun control states like California give, is, oh, well, this makes the gun more accurate. Lasers, a pistol grip, ergonomics of holding a gun this way as opposed to kind of holding it this way, makes it more deadly because it's easier to handle and you're more accurate. In a self-defense situation, you want to be more accurate. That's just all there is to it. Don't trust the media. It's just disappointing. A few other things on this Brown University shooting. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a gun-free zone. Firearms are prohibited on campus, so you're not going to have anyone there, any student or teacher being able to defend themselves. That's why a lot of schools are targets of these attacks. People who want to do mass shootings target places where they're going to be able to make it mass, where there aren't going to be people with guns. So the campus bans the guns. That did a whole lot of good. Giffords Law Center gives Rhode Island an A-, still behind California and RA, but gives them an A- on their gun laws. That worked well, too. Things Rhode Island are missing: bulk firearm purchase restrictions, probably not an issue here. Handgun design safety standards. Those are things like a loaded magazine or loaded chamber indicator and a magazine disconnect safety. Generally things that they require us to get here in California that are useless. They don't make the gun safer. They don't. And local authority to regulate firearms. Well, Brown University regulates firearms on its campus. It's a no-no. The only people on campus who can have firearms are cops, campus police, and in the part I read on their website, visiting dignitaries with security services can petition for an exemption. So if you are defending Salman Rushdie and he's coming to campus with armed security, you can work that out ahead of time where his security can have a firearm. But otherwise, no. This was interesting to me because they haven't caught the Brown University shooter. Usually when you've got these mass shooting situations, part of it is the shooter either wants to be caught or wants to be killed. I mean, it's almost, a suicide by cop. You want to make a name for yourself. Getting away with it is relatively rare. Amy Swearer, who's a senior legal fellow at Heritage, she is kind of their gun policy expert at the Heritage Foundation. Righteous lady. She does she compiles their list of self-defense, handgun self-defense cases. But she had some interesting observations with regard to this. She said, "For all that we don't know about the Brown shooting, what we do know leads me strongly to suspect the following. This was most likely an ideologically motivated attack. What ideology precisely motivated is nowhere close to being answered. It could still very well be an act of anti-Semitism directed at the class of a prominent Jewish professor." That's the room that got shot up. "There is some evidence that perhaps it was targeted against conservative students." Again, because the female victim was the VP of the campus Republican Club. "Or it could be some insane, the lizard people have taken over higher ed and must be stopped thing. But it doesn't fit the mold of a traditional nihilistic school shooting, which typically ends with a suicide or the perpetrator's death. Even in situations like Parkland, where the perpetrator escaped immediate detention, the escape wasn't the original plan. It was a spur-of-a-moment modification, which is why the Parkland shooter was pretty quickly caught. The Brown shooter, however, seems to have clearly devised and fairly well executed an exit plan. 2. Alternatively, this could be something we really haven't seen before, but that I've feared might be a natural development to the attention-seeking notoriety shooter. Someone whose goal is to prove he's smarter than the rest by evading capture, also perhaps by committing multiple subsequent mass shootings. That should scare us a bit. And the fact that, what you got calls for almost immediately were, we need tougher gun laws, despite, see previous slides, they've got an A- in Rhode Island. They got to be tougher. They've always got to be tougher. We respect the Second Amendment, but we need tougher, common sense gun control. Same tune, different day, doesn't change, doesn't fix anything. Regardless of whether it's one or two, the reality is that I wouldn't be shocked if this turns into a string of actual or attempted shootings by the same individual. I hate everything about this conclusion, but I find it a logical and likely one. The successful execution of an exit plan suggests to me that this is someone who, though clearly not mentally well, still has control of his higher level mental faculties. In other words, he likely didn't just snap under a psychotic break. Think more Boston bombing suspects than a Navy Yard shooter, which also reinforces suspicions 1, 2, and 3. I too hope she's wrong, but she may be right. We'll see. I would hate for this guy to be able to do multiples of these. And where you are in the most danger, ladies and gentlemen, residents of Rhode Island, are in gun-free zones. That's where you're in the most danger. If it's a gun-free zone, that's where this person is going to target, because he can get away with it. If he's quick enough about it, police can't respond. He's in no danger from law-abiding concealed carry holders because they won't have their gun on him because it's a gun-free zone. Keep tracking this here. I hope they catch this guy. We'll see. Thanks for watching this clip from the Hoystory On Air broadcast. I encourage you to follow me on Substack, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for your support, and please feel free to watch another video or 2 or 3.